Hello, everyone, and welcome to Blanca Talks episode 7, called The Motivational Teacher. I'm Anna-Karin Berg, the host of Blanca Talks, which is Drottning Blanka, Cyber and Snitz High School's international talk show with and for teachers. Our very important contributors in this program series are Varkey Foundations and Teachers Without Borders. And of course, the most important ones, our teachers from all over the world. In Swedish high schools today, we talk of how to motivate students to enroll and continue in school and continue their studies from primary to higher education as well. And I think we're not alone in having these conversations and having these questions. And a few years ago, the concept of resilience started to be heard in connection to students' motivation. And resilience became in Drottning Blanka schools a very important part of our learners' education and actually our teachers' work environment. In today's Blanka Talks, we will be talking more about this, how to develop resilience with youngsters, and we will also learn more about CBE, culture-based learning or culture-based education, as a motivational tool. Let's turn our gaze towards our most important guests here today, the teachers and a principal as well. But we're going to start off with one of our Swedish teachers, and also student counselor, Johanna Wising. Hello, Johanna. So good to have you here. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm very well. So happy to be here with you. And I'm very excited to hear more about the Resilience Project and the work that you do. Yeah. Which school are you at?
Well, I have worked at this school, Drottning Blanka Gymnasieskola in Skövde for about 10 years now. And 7 of those I've been school counselor, but I also teach criminology, communication, and sociology.
Fantastic. Great. Yes. I'm really looking forward to hearing more about you and your work. And also you do have a connection then to one of the other guests, Katarina, because you've been working together for quite some time as well.
Yes. So I am particularly interested in matters of equality and the well-being of young people. And I think resilience is a huge part of that. So when Katarina approached me with this project, I was, of course, it's a no-brainer. I'm in.
Fantastic. Wonderful. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to hearing more about it later. And now I would like to introduce another guest of honor, Jesus Insilado, Dr. Jesus Insilado from the Philippines, who is with us today. Welcome, Jesus.
Thank you. Madaligan nga adlaw, madawgan nga kurawon. A pleasant day, everyone, especially to all teachers joining us today. I'm very happy. It is my pleasure to be part of this discussion, which is focused on the things that we do in motivating our learners to sustain their studies. And what is also very important part of the discussion is when we talk about our approaches to highlight resilience in education towards education recovery.
Thank you, Jesus. And could you just give us a little brief summary of cultural-based education and what you do with your students in order to implement this?
Yes, it has been my advocacy program since I started teaching. I think my context as a teacher has been my prime consideration why I was able to devote my time and expertise as well as resources in sustaining and institutionalizing this program. Culture-based education is an approach to integrate aspects of culture into the curriculum, into the lesson, so that we could make an education that is relevant, reality-based, and very interesting on the part of both the teachers, the students, and even our stakeholders are also playing important roles in the education of the young people. So I have been advocating this for years. I'm already 2 decades in teaching, and going back to the milestones of my teaching history, I have started this program sometime in 2005 when I was introduced to an organization here in the Philippines which advocates culture-based education, pedagogies, and advocacies.
Wonderful. And I see you wear this very beautiful headband as well. Is it, I can imagine, of course, it's very well connected with you, but also a representation of the culture-based education that you promote as well.
Yes.
What
yes.
is that?
I am a proud member of an indigenous group here in our area, and we are called the Panay Bukidnon, which means mountain dwellers, and we are happy and creative people. And you have just mentioned about my headpiece, which showcases the hand embroidery of especially of women in the community. This is called panubok, and the designs on this headpiece have various meanings. So it is the designs are reflective of the person wearing it. Most common designs are the a design on the skin of the python, inspiration of flora and fauna found in the environment, and a lot more. Because going back to my identity as an indigenous person, I am named as an Igtaman. An Igtaman is my mountain name, which is different from my Christian name. Igtaman is my mountain name, which means someone who has so much to share. And I hope that I have shared you something about our ingenuity, our creativity as a people, and I hope that I could also share about what we are doing in the education of the youth in our school and in our community.
I'm already very convinced that you have plenty of things to share with us, and we have plenty of things to learn from you. So thank you, Jesus, for telling us a little bit more about yourself and your background. Thank you. And now we can move on with me. And then I would like to, of course, welcome our final guest of honor, Katarina. Hello, good to see you. Katarina, you are a senior principal with Drottning Blanka Schools and also principal of Drottning Blanka Jönköping, and also a little bit of Linköping. And yeah, well, you're kind of basically everywhere with us. You're a very important person, and especially when it comes with the Resilience Project as well.
Thank you.
How are you?
Thank you so much, Anna-Karin. So nice to be here. I'm actually in Stockholm today, so it's lovely weather. It's spring in Stockholm. All the flowers are flowering, and I'm feeling very happy and excited to be here today and talk about my favorite subject, of course, which is resilience. So I'm looking forward to this afternoon to just talk to, and also to Jesus and to talk about you, about this culture. It's amazing. I'm very happy to be here.
Thank you, Katarina. And I'm how did it begin with you, for you, with the Resilience Project? How did you get involved with this?
It all started a sunny day when we had a principal meeting, and we talked about with Malin Bergland, and we talked about it, and I said, I'm on, this is perfect, this is what I want to do. Came home, bought the book, and spoke to Johanna and said, let's go for it. This is exactly what we need. This is perfect for our students. This is served for us on a plate, on a silver plate. So let's rock and roll, let's do this. And we did. So Johanna started straight away. We read the book through the summer, and then came August, we were all started. And of course, Johanna did it so good, so she was then exported to other schools in the Drottningblanka. So we were actually the first school that was starting it when I was the principal in Skövde. So, and it's been an amazing journey.
Yes, I've witnessed some of the exercises and activities as well, and we're actually going to show some pictures. One of the pictures now is where we're at a principal meeting, building spaghetti towers. Could you tell us a little bit about that activity?
The spaghetti towers is a very simple activity that you can do, and what you do is you train the students to work together. And you divide the class or the students into groups. And while they are building these spaghetti towers, you can read so much about the group. You can see who is the leader, who is the shy one, who is the thinker, who is the person that looks the other one, who's the other people doing, and things like that. So when you do this in the beginning of a semester and you have a new group, you can learn so much about them. And of course, you as a teacher, you learn, but also the students learn a lot about that. So that's, and I had the opportunity to do that with my fellow colleagues in the principal group. And of course, they were crazy. I mean, they were having some extraordinary ideas. And I've been doing this exercise for many years, but I've never seen it so creative. So that was a lot of fun.
Yes, I speak from experience because I was at the meeting as well, and it's such a fun activity.
Yeah.
But it also experienced some parts of the resilience project, which of course goes so much deeper. And yes, yeah, and we're going to find out more today about that. So thank you, Katarina.
Thank you.
So my first not important, but it isn't important, but what motivates you in your job? Jesus, would you please begin? What is it that drives you and motivates you to go to work every day with these students?
What keeps me motivated is the sense of ownership we have established in the community, in the education community, in the education process, and being responsible and accountable for the results of programs, projects, and activities we have implemented. The learners and the stakeholders' commitment to take part in the education of the young people has been my ultimate motivation, because it is very motivating to feel and to see the full support of the whole community. Everyone is taking part in the education of the young people. Right now in my new school, in the light of the COVID-19 pandemic, we have started to implement this encompassing program on happy and healthy school, and which major part is still curriculum implementation. It is where we integrate culture-based education. We have observed how eager are our stakeholders in taking part in the education of our students, these young people. And I think this is one important source of motivation for me as a teacher and for all of us, teachers and staff. We have so much interesting activities to do in order to put everything in place, especially the importance of highlighting health concerns, and to make everyone positive and enjoy every moment of our collaboration and every step of the process. So I think with each other's back, with each other's positive support, everyone, including me, is just so motivated to work harder to meet education goals and the standards, and for us to overcome the challenges that this pandemic has brought to us.
I think we can all relate to that, Jesus, and it's wonderful to hear how you come together as a community and how that motivates you. Johanna, what about you? What motivates you in your job and in your work?
Well, many things, but really, I mean, we have them for 3 years, and so much happens during these 3 years. And I feel like what motivates me is connecting with the students, seeing their development, seeing them meeting other students, knowing that we can come from different backgrounds, but we share similar things, we go through similar things, and we want them to have the same tools with, for example, resilience, and that they can develop their empathy through that. That is quite endearing to me, and that really, really motivates me. I think we're onto something when it comes to those aspects. So many things, but that primarily. Yeah.
Yes, I totally agree with you, Johanna, because I remember one of the things that most people talk about, or like when you hear about youngsters today, they say, oh, they lack empathy, or they're not sympathetic enough. But that's not simply true, because I think we have to bring it out. We have to help them express this and help them. And I believe you're probably doing that every day with your students. So thank you. Katarina, what motivates you?
For me as a principal, I get motivated every day when I meet my students in the classroom or the corridors, to see how they develop and how they reach their goals. I think I have the most important job in the world, to lead youngsters either to a profession or to further studies. That is so motivating for me. And also to be able to lead this resilience project with all the Drottning Blanka schools around the world is also so motivating, because I so believe in what we are doing. So motivation.
Absolutely. And we're going to continue talking about motivation. Yes, absolutely. So what do you do specifically in your work to keep learners motivated, Katarina? Let's begin with you. What do you do in your interaction with students and staff and everyone?
Well, through our work with resilience, we give our students tools to understand themselves, how to work in a group, study technique. There are 32 activities in this resilience toolbox. So when we work with resilience, we give them the tools to become motivated, to understand themselves, and that's so important. And also we work with the staff, we do the same activities with them, because teachers also need to train in teachers in resilience. So we can reduce stress from students and also teachers by learning them how to think. That is very important.
Absolutely. Thank you. Maybe Johanna, do you have an example, a practical example of one activity or something about how you work with the students in order to promote these?
Well, yeah, like Katarina said, this is a toolbox, and there are many strategies which they can use. But I mean, we are all individuals, so different techniques are different for different students. But if I were to mention some of them, could be about, for example, self-image and self-confidence. Some are dealing with study techniques. Some is reaching out if you need further help with your health, for example. Thought traps and how to minimize them. Trying to avoid procrastination. Motivation for the future and reaching educational goals, being aware of your sleep routines. I mean, so it's a width of things, really. And when it comes to sharing that with the teachers, we make sure that they are comfortable in those assignments. So like Katarina mentioned, we make sure that, and it is crucial, that the headmasters are prioritizing the resilience project, and we get plenty of time during meetings and conferences so we can teach the teachers these different techniques, so they feel comfortable and they feel like, oh, I can use this. This will be good for my math class, for example, to think about perhaps negative thinking or these thought traps ahead of a quiz or something. So it's really beneficial to their courses. So they feel comfortable doing this with the students, and also during, as we say in Swedish, klasstid, class time. They also get these exercises in, you know, developing group work within the class. For example, new classmates getting to know each other, old ones reconnecting, or in a constructive manner, perhaps dealing with minor conflicts that have appeared. So yeah, it's beneficial for the teachers. They are very much involved in the process. They get excited about it, and we really want to be credible in that sense, that if this is something we believe in for our students, then we as a staff must be able to work it out as well. So that's important to us.
Of course, if everybody, I mean, if you're gonna have to model behavior, of course. So it's really good that you really thought about the teachers as well being involved in this. Jesus, what do you do in your school with the teachers, and do you have any like examples of what it looks like when you try to motivate students and in class?
Here in our school, Malitbog National High School, we have just started implementing the limited face-to-face classes after almost more than 2 years of school closure. So we didn't have much contact with our students before the implementation of the limited face-to-face, but we had to maximize different platforms, ways and means in communicating with our learners, especially with their parents, who are acting as learning facilitators at home for the implementation of home-based learning. So I think the guidance that we're giving to the students would motivate them to continue learning for their learning continuity at home, because at the start of the implementation of the home-based learning, we could hear, of course, the most common remarks from the learners themselves and the parents that it would be very impossible for them to have learning continuity at home. Parents were not trained to serve as teachers and learning facilitators at home, but through constant communication, follow-up, feedback giving, feedback generating, as well as maximizing different platforms, ways and means in connecting with learners and stakeholders became a very effective tool to go through with the challenges or to overcome the challenges brought by the pandemic. And now that we are transitioning from home-based learning to limited face-to-face, because every now and then we might open classes, additional classes. We have just started from the senior high school, but anytime with compliance to protocols and standards, we could add and include all grade levels. By the way, Malitbog National High School is offering grades 7 to 12. I think one important consideration to motivate learners and everyone in the education community, including teachers, staff, parents and stakeholders is that to include them in every step of the way in the implementation of any in the implementation of the curriculum, any program, project, or activity. I have just had a meeting with the Supreme Student Government Officers this afternoon. It's 9:33 in the evening here, and I was in school today, and so I had just a meeting with them, and I felt how motivated they were to serve as leaders, to serve as implementers of this program called Advocacy Perfect Profile Photos. This is a very simple activity for them because Facebook, you know, is one of the most popular platforms here, social media here. So we made use of this platform for them to spread our advocacy on creating, building a happy and healthy school. So using their Facebook pages, they will be providing updates, information, the implementation of the program. At the same time, advocate the importance of engaging in worthwhile activities that would promote um, healthy body, mind, and relationships. So our mantra has been, we are a happy community and we value healthy body, mind, and relationships. And that is our major response to overcoming the challenges brought by this present pandemic. And I think that is one important way or technique or approach to motivate anyone, not just the learners, but anyone and everyone in the community. Teachers are being involved based on their own interests. Going back to the learners, they were very excited because that is one of their interests to manipulate their gadgets and make use of their social media platforms to communicate our advocacies. Teachers also enjoy doing things that that include their interests. So I think there are many ways, but this is one of the significant ways to continually motivate learners towards their
Absolutely.
studies and in any activities that we have in school.
Absolutely. And I think when you send about um, of taking care of or promoting healthy body, mind, and was it, what was the third one? Sorry.
Relationships.
Yes, exactly. I
Relationships.
mean, it's yes, it sounds very similar to what the Resilience Project is all about. It's exactly the same core of the Resilience Project. So, and perhaps Johanna and Katarina, you might agree that these kind of activities and to promote this kind of healthier mentality maybe and relationships is even more important now after the pandemic. Katarina, what would you say?
Absolutely. And I'm so amazed that we sit here and we talk about it, and what you do in the Philippines and what we do in Sweden are similar. It's I'm a bit amazed by that, actually. Fantastic.
It's very touching. Yeah.
Well, I think because we all have things that unite us, these core values, these core interests, and I mean, we're all human beings, so independent. It's just the conditions that we live in that we sometimes have to adapt to. So it's so wonderful to find these common denominators, really. So thank you all for sharing this.
Yes. Humans as we are, we have that really the tendency to respond to the immediate needs, and as educators, we have that intuition, we have that creativity, and we have that innovation to always respond to the needs of our stakeholders in the education community. And I truly appreciate that similarity, that commonality that we have in all the things that we are doing as educators in response to the immediate needs of the situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry, Johanna, yes?
Being flexible as well with those needs, because I think that in the Resilience Project, we are very keen on hearing from the students, okay, what needs do they have? What is in their presence right now? And then we try to incorporate that as well as we can. And that's really what makes Resilience 2.0 that, and as well including more staff behind this, really. But like in the last part of the project, we have gotten response from our students who says, okay, this is lovely, but we also want to focus more on broadening study technique, dealing with stress. How do I handle that? I'm struggling with my sleep. Are there any things that you could do to improve sleep? So that we meet the needs and not think that we know what they need, but really tapping into, okay. So that is important as well. Yeah, really. And also being able to, for our teachers who are amazing in this sense, they know their students the best. So like with our toolbox, as we say, they can alter these exercises to the group's needs or the individual's needs so that they feel comfortable with these exercises. So that's also something that I think motivates them to go further, that we're adaptable, you know. Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you, Johanna. So you've already shared now about how you work within the schools and also with teachers, and in Jesus, how you also involve the parents as well in creating this kind of motivational environment. But when you find, I would like to hear some more specific examples of for example, if you find a student that is struggling very much and they have difficulties in taking on challenges and dealing with this, what would you do as an educator? Johanna, continue if you be so kind to do so.
Well, what I would do as an educator is being mindful of their needs. I would make sure that in a pair setting or in a group that they would feel comfortable, and that's what I said earlier, like adapting it. But also there are different exercises in this toolbox that could be more or less helpful for the students. So, I mean, we just have to try these different strategies, basically. Like the ones with study techniques, there are a bunch of them, really. And some will work, and some the student will think, no, this is more for my friend instead. But I like the Pomodoro, and I will try that, keep on trying with that. But I mean, when they're struggling with something, it is also, well, they will also be able to talk with me as a counselor. So we get back to that, or if they have like a conference with the principal or something, they also will tap into resilience factors. Or do you remember when we worked with this? Is this something that you could use now when you're struggling with this? So we wanted to, you know, encompass everything, really. So that's, I don't know if that was an answer to your question.
Oh, yes, absolutely. But I'm very, you mentioned Pomodoro. What is that? What is an activity?
Well, we have them in one of our exercises, which has to do with study technique, and there are different exercises or techniques that you could use, obviously. But first of all, we start with trying to help the student express their needs. and to talk about their needs, and to make them see that there are a bunch of study techniques that they might not have known about earlier or experienced. And then hands on deck, they can try them during different classes or courses, and then they will see what works for me. And Pomodoro is well, it's not like we invented it. It's a study technique, but it is, you know, focusing for 25 minutes and then having a quick break,
20
minutes, and then focusing 25 again. And for many students, this might be completely new, you know. So this is, I think resilience is about providing our students with options, trying to strengthen them that there are different techniques that might be helpful for me. So why not try them? It's not deciding on what's wrong or right and what you should do, but it's just providing them with a greater opportunity. And they are all individuals. So therefore, we have to have kind of a big toolbox because they will choose the one or the ones that are helpful to them, you know. Yeah.
Thank you, Johanna. Thank you for also explaining to me again my ignorance of not knowing the Pomodoro technique. No, but I did recall it. I was like, oh yes, that one. So yeah. Thank you. So my final question for you, thank you so much everyone for sharing your experiences and telling us more about the Resilience Project and also the cultural-based education in the Philippines. But could you also tell of a particular motivational moment for your students and yourself? One of those kind of goosebump moments when you really feel like, oh, we're on the right track. Katarina, do you have one of those moments that you would like to share, like one of those?
Difficult to pick one moment, but for example, we have worked very hard with mathematics in my school because many students struggle with mathematics, and by giving them resilience tools, by asking the right question to appreciate what they can and what they can't, our mathematics result has gone up. And I'm very proud of that. So that's one of the goosebumps situation. But for me, I've been working in school many years. And, you know, the biggest reward is when I meet the students after they have graduated. And they come up to me and they say, Higgins, Katarina, do you remember when we talked about this and this, you know? And that gives me goosebumps every day. Because I meet them a lot, my ex-students, and I see that they have developed into young people that are working, having an education. So I am very proud of that.
Of course. That must be so motivational to have those moments with former students when you're like, oh, we did it, we made it. Mm-hmm. Johanna, what about you? Do you have a motivational, one of those moments where you kind of like go, oh, fantastic?
Well, I think they're all pretty motivational, but being a counselor, being mushy is in my genes. So I get really moved by the exercises that we have pertaining to, you know, being appreciated of others and of yourself. I think in some part of the Western society, we may not talk about showing appreciation to others in that sense as much. And initially, the students find it pretty difficult or cringe, as they say. But then when they have a conversation or have a meeting or sometimes text these people about how much they mean to them, they get very happy afterwards. They get really inspired and they want to continue doing that. So being mushy, I will say that.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
And now, Jesus, you're back. Thank you. So I asked if you could recall a particular motivational moment you had with your students and yourself. Kind of a goosebump moment, maybe.
That moment would be small success in any endeavor that we have done when results were positive or were able to meet the expectations. So I think that feeling was very rewarding. I could see the happiness in the eyes of the learners when they accomplish something in their project-based activities, or if they have submitted their outputs. That was when I was still a teacher, but now that I am a school principal, I could feel that moment, which is very, very motivating. It was when they accomplish a specific project or a program, be it a project that they're taken by the student body, for example, or an accomplishment by our reading class, especially these struggling learners. If they have overcome their weakness, or if they have overcome their shyness, that is very important. If they have the confidence already, that I think that is a very motivating moment. That feeling that you have done something for them to come out of their shell, to discover their potentials, the different talents. Because what matters most is that education should lead to their own discovery of their own strength as a person, or as a child, or as a person. So I think that is very motivating feeling when they have accomplished something and they feel responsible and accountable for the results of their action. And we are their teachers to affirm, to validate that they have done something extraordinary or wonderful. So it's just make us happy seeing them happy in what they have achieved.
Absolutely. I can hear myself saying absolutely the entire talk show here today, but it's because what you're saying is so true. And yeah, it's just so wonderful to hear the wonderful and amazing work that all of you do with the students and helping them improving themselves and going out into the world and becoming these accomplished and healthy young people. That is our future, of course, because they're going to be taking care of me when I go older. So, so yeah. So I want to thank you so much for taking the time. I know, Jesus, it's very late now for you, and thank you, Katarina and Johanna, for taking the time here today. I know in May in Sweden, the schools are super busy with national tests, and everything is kind of like the final race, for the summer break that we have here now. I don't know if you have the same situation, Jesus, in the Philippines.
If you We're about to end school. That will be the 1st of July, end of June, 1st of July will be closing the school year. So how about in Sweden?
Closing at the beginning of June.
Yeah, yes, beginning of June.
Stress.
Almost similar.
Yeah.
Almost similar.
It's been very inspiring to hear from you. Yeah. And definitely the culture-based initiative as well, Jesus. So thank you for that.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
And of course, thank you. And of course, Jesus, we invite you to Sweden. So if we get a chance, perhaps we will be able to have you visit us one day, and perhaps we can come and visit you. That would be amazing.
Yes, yes. We'll continue. I hope that we could continue this network, reaching out to each other, and exchanging ideas, technologies, and expertise. And I think we could create an amazing network if we have to exchange and exchange and learn from each other.
Absolutely.
Yes. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm going to say goodbye now. And again, a huge thank you for being here today. And a huge thank you to Nina and Rickard.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You all.
Please do not stay tuned. I need to take a picture.